The Biography of the Millennium is brought to you in part by Fidelity Investments and by Salon.com.
The Royal Observatory, Greenwich, England, home of the Greenwich Meridian. This is where the world keeps time. It's here in this exact spot that the old millennium will officially end and the new one begin. Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Biography. I'm Harry Smith. Tonight we begin a remarkable journey through the past 1,000 years, a special countdown of the 100 most influential people of the millennium past. Over the course of the next 2 nights, we'll meet the men and women we believe have done the most to shape our world today. To help compile our list, we polled more than 300 distinguished scholars, world leaders, and journalists, and we listened to viewers like you who visited the Biography website. The choices, well, you may be surprised. You may disagree. We've been arguing about them for months. So on to the list, and remember, we're counting down in order of importance to number 1, Biography's Person of the Millennium. We begin in the 1500s with a man who ruled nearly half the earth, a sultan so ruthless, the mere mention of his name was enough to send Christians running for cover. Suleiman the Magnificent, number 100 as we start our Millennium Countdown. In an era of conquistadors and shoguns, Suleiman was the mightiest of them all. His great Ottoman Empire stretched from Baghdad to Budapest and all across the Mediterranean.
He united the Arab world, and then that united Arab world conquered most of what was then known as the civilized world. His legacy is that he is at the roots of the lack of trust even today between the Islamic world and the Christian world.
If his rule was born in blood and steel, Suleiman earned lasting fame by bringing his subjects government and justice, and he ushered in a golden age of Islamic arts and sciences. At the same time Suleiman was conquering the known world, a daring group of explorers was setting off into the unknown. One of the greatest of these seagoers was this man, Vasco da Gama. He was sent to sea by the King of Portugal. His mission, to find a route to the riches of Asia. Da Gama headed east, sailing around Africa's treacherous Cape of Good Hope. Da Gama, who traveled 3 times the distance of Columbus's first voyage, blazed the first practical ocean trail from west to east, to this day linking 2 great cultures. Not since Joshua blew down the fabled walls of Jericho has the sound of a trumpet made such an impact on the world. The man who turned brass into pure gold was a poor kid from New Orleans who made music with an all-American style. Number 98, the founding father of jazz, Louis Armstrong.
Along comes Louis Armstrong with that gravelly voice and that magnificent trumpet, and you think that there was some divine wind just moving through him that made us stop in our tracks.
Armstrong's performances called worldwide attention to a new and uniquely American art form, jazz.
One of America's most popular emissaries
As a goodwill ambassador, Armstrong broke the color bar, bringing jazz all around the world. As a musical innovator, he pioneered the concept of improvisation. Not only that, his voice was one of a kind. Armstrong's style was ribbed by just about every comic impressionist, including Danny Kaye. Louis didn't mind. A lot of cats copy the Mona Lisa, he said, but people still line up to see the original. It was a threat that hung over the children of the 1950s, an epidemic that paralyzed or killed hundreds of thousands. One man put a stop to this dread disease, Dr. Jonas Salk. Salk struggled for more than 4 years to find a cure and eventually came up with the polio vaccine. It was a miracle in a test tube. Within 2 years, the polio cases in America had been cut by 80%. He would go down in history as the man who freed families from a silent terror.
Anxious parents shepherding little Johnny and little Jill to their inoculations. They're protected, and it didn't hurt a bit.
Forget the 3 tenors. Back at the beginning of this century, we needed only one. Enrico Caruso, soaring in at number 96. Caruso was a natural talent. He didn't have a singing lesson until he was 18, but within a few years, the young Italian had become the highest paid singer in the world.
He walked out to the center of the stage and said, "Let me show you what a tenor voice really is all about." I mean, it was just there. He was like Babe Ruth of the operatic world.
Caruso's golden voice set the standard for every opera singer who followed. And because he was one of the first artists to record his music, he became internationally famous. You might even say he was one of the first superstars.
I think it brought it into the average person's home in such a way that they at least realized it could be quite thrilling. I can only imagine what it was like to hear such a full sound ringing out these high notes with no effort.
Quick, name the most famous movie star in the world. Not Greta Garbo or Marilyn Monroe, not Schwarzenegger or even Leonardo DiCaprio. He never played a superhero or a heartthrob. He was the little tramp, down at the heels, but as resilient as the bamboo cane he twirled. Charlie Chaplin, number 95 of the Millennium 100.
I think he made people feel good. You know, I think the feel-good movie started with Charlie Chaplin pictures. Every once in a while, just a little flavor of Chaplin, put some spring in your step, and it was a new thing. It was a brand new art form.
Chaplin's pathos and humor could be understood in any language. In more than 80 silent films, most of which he wrote and directed, he touched a universal chord with his stories of the underdog, short of cash, but never short of hope. Charlie Chaplin showed us how to thumb our nose at adversity and laugh through the tears.
Chaplin was the pioneer. We're maybe the sons of the pioneers, but he was the pathfinder.
It is the modern plague, the scourge of our times, a viral infection that kills slowly and agonizingly. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS. Scientists now believe it began with chimpanzees of Western Africa. But the first known human victim is an African man. This so-called patient zero is number 94 and symbolizes all those who have fought not only the disease, but controversy and prejudice as well.
AIDS became a political disease, and a lot of the people that surrounded President Reagan just thought that this was a disease that affected homosexuals, didn't it, and affected drug addicts, didn't it, and didn't these people deserve what they got? And they also, I think, fully believed that if you ignored it, it might go away.
But it didn't go away. By the year 2000, it's believed that 40 million people worldwide will be living with AIDS.
Richard Walker.